What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We are now just 5 days away from the Premier League being back and from FPL finally returning. Today we are going to be rating 5 of your submitted drafts. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here and welcome back to another video. Today we are rating your drafts. This is the third video in my FPL Harry Christmas series. Every day in the lead up from when the World Cup finished to when Game Week 17 kicks off, I have a new video covering a new topic or a new draft from me, a variety of things to get you ready for the return of FPL and the Premier League, of course. So far, we have covered my new draft. We covered top differentials yesterday. If you haven't checked out both of those videos already, make sure you go and do so. And today, of course, as I've said, we are rating some of your drafts. You submitted over 150 of them. I won't be going through all of them. I've taken 5 of the most different drafts I think cover enough of the talking points that we need to get through with all of the teams that you guys are making at the moment. So let's dive into them. We're starting off with a team from Owen Windsor. Thank you again, everyone who sent them in. And this is a very interesting and a slightly different draft to maybe we've got here. This is actually a bench boost squad, but it's more about a team that has really gone, and we'll talk about a team that's really gone for strengthening in the 15-man squad. So the bench boost on this one is actually active. There do tend to be a lot of goals and a lot of excitement in the Boxing Day fixtures. Whether the return from the World Cup will have any impact on that, we aren't quite sure. Personally, for me, I think saving your chips for later on in the seasons for the big double game weeks and the big blank game weeks are the best times to play the likes of your free hit, your triple captain, and your bench boost alike. Personally, it's not the best time to play it, but if you did want to play it in a single game week, the fixtures that we have on the bench here, Brighton at home for double Southampton, Zaha at home to Fulham, and then Ward at home to Newcastle, it doesn't get that much better when you turn to a single game week to be playing your bench boost. Personally, I wouldn't do it, but this is what Owen has decided to go and do. I like the team as a whole. The strong defence is there with a sort of cheap option in Perraud on the bench, who after the bench boost can sit last on your bench. Again, the only thing with this is because you're playing a bench boost, there is too much money going in investing in the bench and going and investing in just focusing on this week. So what I mean by this is this team actually only has one real premium in there. Fernandes and Darwin are both in there, but when the likes of game weeks 20 comes around and you're looking to go and buy, for example, Kevin De Bruyne in here or Harry Kane in here, you don't actually have a second premium, so you're instantly having to downgrade players and upgrade elsewhere, and it makes it very difficult. And then also not just about getting that second premium in and not having them, when those doubles come around, like in game week 20 when Manchester City Tottenham do, this team is not very well set up. You've only got one Manchester City in here at the moment, so getting a defender and getting a midfielder is straight away 2 of the 3 transfers we have between now and then. There's no Fulham in here as well for the double in game week 19. There is double Chelsea for their double in game week 19 in Reece James and Kepa. Although they're both flagged, I do think they'll be fine. So for me, I've given this a 7 out of 10. I understand that this is trying to get the bench boost out of the way for game week 17, and I quite like that. It is around the fixtures that we tend to see a reasonable amount of goals scored and a reasonable amount of FPL points scored as well. But I just think it's too short focused. I think it doesn't look far enough in advance, and although you might score well this week, I don't think it will do you well further down the line. Team number 2, which is called the Manchester United draft, is sent in from Capital FPL. So the reason this is called Manchester United draft, looking at the team, you'll no surprise that this has got triple Manchester United in Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial as well. This sort of Manchester United coming to the front again and being good picks feels like a couple of seasons ago when Ole first took over and the likes of Pogba, the likes of Martial, Rashford were suddenly scoring an unbelievable amount of FPL points. It happened basically at Christmas as well, and it feels like people are thinking it's going to be something again. I think a triple up on it is a bit too much of a risk. And I think come game week 20, where they start to play Manchester City and Arsenal on the bounce, having 3 of them will then cause you a bit of a headache whilst you're trying to manoeuvre to the likes of the doubles for Spurs and Manchester City. You then have to worry about, you need to be selling these guys out of your team because they do have a couple of difficult fixtures in there in those sort of game weeks after their 3 nice opening games that we know they have in Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and then Wolves as their first 3. I don't dislike it, and if you have a route to sell these guys to go in and buy the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, buy the likes of Kulusevski, Kulusevski, Phil Foden, Harry Kane as well, then I don't hate it. And you can definitely see the amount of points that these Manchester United guys could go and score over that run. So I'm not necessarily having an issue with it, but it's just not what I would do. Double Manchester City defence is probably not what I would want. I'd maybe go for one of them. I think there's enough explosivity in the midfielders, in Foden or in De Bruyne, if Foden doesn't nail down a spot, that over those doubles, it's going to be worth having one of those. But double defence could be really good value. It's a really nice squad. It's very well rounded, which is why I've given it an 8.5. The only thing I would potentially tweak very, very slightly is changing from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3 and potentially doing Rashford downgraded and going getting Mitrovic in, for example. That would give you Mitrovic for the double in game week 19. It would mean you don't have triple Manchester United, and it would mean you'd have a 4.6 Pereira on your bench instead of Rashford, and then you would, of course, upgrade Greenwood. And having Pereira on your bench over Greenwood just feels like a massive strength to your squad depth. So I do think a 3-4-3 is the strongest way to be lining up our squads at the moment. Team number 3, sent in from FPL Gustavo 1429, is the no Liverpool draft. So looking at how they performed early on in the season, you might think, yeah, no, Liverpool is a reasonable way to go. Salah's not worth 13 million. Then you've got Darwin Núñez as well, and he's decided to go with Kane, Haaland, Mitrovic, and that's absolutely fine. To be honest, I don't hate going without Liverpool. I think the reasoning that I've just explained, it's fine. Salah at his price, if you're not going to captain him, yeah, you can look to go elsewhere. And then Darwin, if you do go Kane, Haaland and Mitrovic, it's okay not to go with Darwin. But I do think Liverpool, with that front three unlikely to rotate because there's no Diaz and because there's no Jota, I do think they're going to score a consistent amount of points given they have to play a lot of minutes and given actually how that three started to link up together before the World Cup started. And now they've had a reasonable amount of time over the past week or so to gel back together and start playing those minutes together as well. This team is set up well for the short-term doubles. We have Spurs in there. We've got triple Manchester City. You've got double Fulham. You've got double Chelsea in there as well. For those 19 and 20 doubles as well, there's a lot of those in there. I just think going for Kane and going for De Bruyne over even going for Darwin and getting Bruno Fernandes in or going and getting Mo Salah in straight away is not the way that I would want to play it. But that is a personal preference thing. I can't mark down a squad too much just based off personal preference of players here or there. So I have given it an 8 out of 10. I do think you do want a piece of that Liverpool attack given their opening fixtures. And Darwin, even if you don't want to stretch all the way up to Mo Salah, Darwin is one you can hold for longer because he is that cheaper asset, of course. Just before we dive in, 20 seconds of your time. I'm raising money for a charity called Action for Children during the month of December. They are a fantastic charity that helps support vulnerable children and families across the UK. And at Christmas time, while we're all celebrating, it is a very hard time for a lot of families across the country. In order to support, all you have to do is just watch the videos getting this far. 50% of all my ad revenue is going to them during December. And then 100% of all super chats, super thanks, membership, joining, all of that does go to charity. So if you do want to support, there is a number of ways of doing it. It is a fantastic charity, but even you getting this far and watching this is going to be helping them out. Team number 4. Well, this was the 4-mium, not 2-mium, not 1-mium, not 3-mium that people have stretched to. This had 4 premiums in it. It has Salah, Son, and then up front it has Haaland and Kane. For me, straight away, this was the lowest ranked squad that we had out of any of them. I just don't think you needed to go and stretch to the 4th one. Simply Son straight away. If you downgraded him and upgraded in strength elsewhere, I think this squad could be easily improved very, very quickly by just downgrading Son. Son, his price is not the one that I'd be going and getting. I think straight down to Kulusevski, if you do want double Spurs, is a much better way of going and doing it. It's really just led to an unbalanced team. You are playing Pereira every week. Pereira's a good asset, but I'm not sure I'd want to be playing him every week. Ben White could rotate with him, but it's still not really what I want to be going and doing. And even with 4 premiums in your team, you only have 1 Manchester City in here. When their doubles come around in game week 20, which is again still to be confirmed, and game week 23 as well, only having 1 of them in your team, you'll have to sell Son anyway to go and free up to go and get Kevin De Bruyne. I just feel like it is trying to do something, and I like what you've tried to do here, but it's really tried to stretch the budget a bit too far. Plus, you've got to be careful. Martinez, as a small point in defence, he's going to be away with Argentina celebrating the World Cup victory. Again, it might be the same with France players also missing game week 17, but those Argentina players like Martinez, like McAllister, for example, a lot of these guys are not going to play 17 and they're probably not going to play game week 18 as well. And then Team number 5, I have to say I've saved the best till last. It's FPL Dan, the man, member of the channel. Perfection is what I call this draft. I've given it a 9.5 out of 10. It is very similar to what the template is looking like at the moment, but I think the template is looking like it is because it is a very strong draft. You basically have a 4-4-3 formation, and then you have to bench one of those sort of 11 outfield players because you can only play 10 of them every week. You'll be benching Bueno, you'll be benching Pereira. You have your sort of 2.5 premiums that a lot of us are going with. So it's Salah, it's Haaland, and then it's either Darwin or you're going to go and have Bruno Fernandes in your midfield. So it's one of those two. We've got Darwin into this one. Mitrovic is set up well for the double. You've got Andres Pereira set up well for the double. Kulusevski, Haaland, Cancelo set up well for their doubles, as well as having Kepa and Reece James as well. Solid defenses. Dalot to an Arsenal option is probably what I would look at doing. I slightly prefer if I could only have one. I prefer the likes of Gabriel, Ben White over having Dalot. Dalot feels very short focused, whereas Arsenal long term are probably the defence that I'd like to go and invest in personally. The only other small thing is I'd quite like a Manchester United asset going forward. I probably would prefer to start with Rashford over the first 3, then move Rashford to Kulusevski once game week 20 comes around and once Kulusevski has that double against Manchester City and once it gets confirmed. For Rashford to have Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Wolves in the first 3, I feel like you need to do that. So I've given it 9.5. There's also no money in the bank, which doesn't help with flexibility. But if you did that Kulusevski to Rashford draft, I think you'd have that money in the bank, you'd have that flexibility, and you'd be set up well for the next few weeks. It's very template. It's similar to my draft at the moment as well, but it is going to be very popular. We've had 5 very different drafts. We've had heavy on Manchester City. We've had heavy on the premiums. We've had light on the premiums, and let's spread the funds. We've had big at the back. We've had Tottenham. We've had Manchester United. There are a lot of big teams with good opening fixtures with doubles coming up as well. So very interesting to see what you guys and all are doing with your drafts going into game week 17. Tomorrow, I will be looking back at my updated draft. A few things have changed, and I'm pretty much there with my final draft for game week 17. So if you haven't watched the videos we've had so far in the FPL Harry-Christmas, we've had my latest draft. We then had differentials, and then today we have had, of course, rating your drafts. We'll be back again tomorrow with a new video, followed by Friday and Saturday as well. If you're enjoying FPL being back, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. We're also so close to 40,000 subscribers. I'm going to try and hit it by Christmas. Anything you can do to support the channel would be absolutely fantastic. Greatly appreciated by me, and of course, it's helping to support charity during the month of December as well. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe before you go. Turn on those notifications so you get a reminder of all these videos I'm uploading at the moment, and I'll be back again tomorrow.